Hi everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com. The pattern I'm tying for you here is an Adams parachute. The reason I'm tying this one is just to give you the technique behind tying a parachute fly. The Adams, I'm just tying it in the Adams color because it's a very popular pattern. Just a generic pattern, gonna catch you a lot of fish, but the thing I want you to key on is the techniques used to tie the parachute. If you like what you see here, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can constantly be updated with new videos. And the material we tie and use to tie these flies, we carry on our website. If we don't have it, you can always contact us. We can probably get it for you. And anything you need, look us up at holsingersflyshop.com. Thank you. Okay, the fly I'm tying for you today is an Adams parachute. Not really probably standard Adams. I just want to show you some techniques used to tie a parachute style fly. I'm just going to start with some black thread on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap back to the back, and I'm going to put my ball. If you see me tie some other flies, I like to splay the tail out. I'm going to put a ball back here, right on the bend of the hook. Okay. Then I'm going to take, for my tailing material, this is a Coq de Leon. It's a silver color, or it's a saddle, and medium Pardo is the color that I'm using. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take and grab a couple of the fibers off of here and pull the fibers off to make the tail. This is really good tailing material for a dry fly. You can buy these in small packs, or you can buy the whole saddle. It doesn't matter if you tie a lot. I guess you need the saddle, but you can get these in small packs if you look around. Then, as always, you want your tail the same length as the shank of the hook. You don't want it too long. I'm just going to tie it down, soft loop on top. Get it positioned on top there, and then I'm going to tie it down towards the back. And I'll keep it tight until I get back to that ball. And I'm just going to wrap right to that ball, and it'll spread them tail fibers out for me. Okay. Then, just going to cut my tag end off here. The next thing I'm going to put on is a little bit of Uniflex in dark brown color. This is going to be the ribbing on my fly. I like to use this stuff on it because you can pull on it and stretch it out, and it makes it a lot skinnier, so you can control the size of it. Just going to wrap that back to where I stopped the thread there on making the tail. Okay. Then I'm going to come in with my dubbing. I'm just using a light gray, super fine hairline dubbing. And you don't need a lot of this. We're just making it big enough to, you just want enough on there to cover the thread on the hook, to change the color on the hook. You don't want to make your body real thick and real fat. I always say that's one of the biggest fly tire mistakes, beginners fly tire mistakes. That's something we don't want to do here, so we're going to, this super fine dubbing, you can get pretty thin with it. Just going to start back here at the back, and we're going to wrap it up about 2/3 of the way. We want to keep that body pretty uniform in size. I'm up here far enough now. I got a little extra thread, little extra dubbing here. I'm going to pull some of that off, and then wrap the stragglers back on there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our ribbing on. Like I said, when you pull this tighter, it makes it thinner. So pull it pretty tight. Wrap it on there. You're only going to get about 3 or 4 ribs. You don't need a lot. You just want the effect of the rib. I'm tying this on a size 14 1170 Daiichi dry fly hook. And then I'm going to cut this off. I don't need it anymore. Okay, my next thing I'm going to put on is, on this one I'm using a pink colored Antron yarn. Okay, you can get any color, bright colors. What I'm doing here, I'm making a parachute on top. You can tie it in white, whatever color you prefer, but the reason I'm using pink is I'm using it kind of like as an indicator. This pink really stands out on the water. I tell you what, white under the right conditions does too. I mean, you might want to use white, or you can even double up two colors. You know, white and chartreuse, or yellow and chartreuse, or pink and chartreuse, whatever. Then I'm just gonna wrap this on here, make a couple of wraps in front and behind. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a post out of this antron. And I'm just going to make a couple of wraps around the yarn. You know, hold it up with one hand and wrap around it with the other. And you'll see I'm kind of getting down here at the bottom. I'm just covering it up here real nice and making it a little bit sturdier. And you want this to stand straight up and down, so hold it straight up and down the whole time. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my dry fly hackle. The hackle I'm using on this one, it's sorry, it's a dark barred ginger colored dry fly saddle hackle. And what I'm going to do is, the way I like to do these is I put it on, as you see right here. I'm just going to do it from the other side because that's where it's handy for me. But I just start it right behind the eye, and I'm going to wrap it down on the hook, and then I'm going to bend it up on the antron yarn. But for ease of me doing it, I do it on my handed side here. So, like I said, I'm just going to wrap it down tight on the hook there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to stand it up with my antron yarn, and I'm going to make a couple wraps around the yarn here. I'm going to tie the saddle to the yarn. Okay, once I got that on there, I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish off the head on this fly with my antron yarn. My antron dubbing, I mean, sorry, superfine dubbing. Just going to come back and really lightly make a head on this thing. With this superfine dubbing, sometimes you lick your finger, it makes it go on there a little bit tighter, a little bit nicer. So, just going to make a thin head. I'm going to wrap around both sides, front and back of that antron, kind of smooth it all out, even out the body there, and then wrap it back up, and I want to end right underneath the post, okay? You see my threads underneath the post, and I actually have just a little bit of dubbing on there, that's fine. Okay, I want to say about this dark barred ginger. A lot of times the Adams patterns, a lot of guys will use a brown hackle and a grizzly hackle. This dark barred ginger has brown and grizzly in it, so it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. If you're looking for an economic saddle to buy, the dark barred ginger is really nice because it's kind of like using two feathers and one feather instead of two. Okay, what we're going to do here to wrap this post to make the parachute is we're going to wrap it around the post. Okay, I'm just going to take and continually wrap around the post, and I'm going to wrap down the post. So I'm going to start out high, and then I'm going to wrap underneath the last wrap. I'm going to wrap about 3-4 wraps on there. Get a nice amount of hackle on there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to hold it down below. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to wrap around this post. And if you can see what I'm doing, I'm taking my string and I'm going over the body, and then I'm going under all the hackle, and I'm going over the eye and back under the hackle, and I'm just going to continue to wrap around that way so I can wrap this hackle onto the post. I'm not wrapping it onto the eye, I'm wrapping it onto the post. I'm going to make about 3 or 4 wraps that way, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to wrap it down on the eye. Make a couple wraps on the eye, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to whip finish it off. Okay, try not to, that's not good, I only got one wrap there. You don't want to wrap down your hackle when you're wrapping down your knot here, and I keep catching it. So I'm gonna actually just gonna take and put one more half hitch on this. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna cut my thread off. Now I'm gonna come back in, cut off my hackle. Okay, now my post, you don't want this big long thing hanging here. You just want, this is going to be like your little indicator on the fly to help you see it. So you just want to cut that long enough. It's even a little longer than I sometimes cut it. But you want to cut it, and then I just like to poof it out there a little bit, and that's how you tie a parachute fly. I'm going to come in and I'm going to trim off all the bottom ones. I want it to lay level. And I can see one there. Okay, there you can see how I have no hackle fibers down underneath, and all the hackle is up on top like a parachute. Okay, as you can see, the orange color on top here doesn't make a big difference because I'll try to give you, there's the trout's view of this fly. Okay, this trout's going to be looking up at it, and he can't see the orange post. He's just seeing the legs and the body of the fly sticking out. That's why these are effective. That way you can see the fly floating down the stream, and the trout can't see it, and it makes the legs lay right on the water. The hackle makes like the legs, the impression of the legs on the water, so it's a really, really nice pattern to fish. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned something from it.